Uh, Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Voices of Organic Black Men. We have our state senator on the line that's running for governor of the state of Georgia. And we're going to begin right away because we have a very packed line of questions. And I know he's excited to let his voice be heard and how he feels about these issues as it relates to black men all across the state of Georgia, and in particularly also the black community. So I'm going to ask our beloved brother, brother Stephen Muhammad, if he can open us up in prayer.
Yes, sir. And thank you, Brother Emmanuel, and to all the brothers that's on this call, and to our candidate who has offered himself up for office, which is a very, very important thing in our community, and to come before this group, which looks forward to having all of the candidates in front of us. So let us bow our heads or take the position of prayer that's comfortable to us. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, all praises are due to God, Lord of all the world, the Beneficent, the Merciful, sole Master this day of judgment in which we now live. Thee alone do we serve, thee alone do we beseech for thine aid. O God, allow us to go on the straight path, the path of those upon whom thou hast bestowed favor, and not the path of those upon whom thy wrath has been brought down, nor those who go astray. O God, bless this meeting tonight. Put your spirit, put your arms, put your guidance into this meeting that we might be able to get an opportunity to take a closer look at our brother, and that our brother Jason will be able to give us insight into who he is and what he proposes to do to make the state of Georgia better for all people, regardless of creed, class, or color. To make this a state that's fair to black men as well as it is to white men. To make this a state that's fair to black women as well as it is to white women. To make this equal opportunity for all of us who are striving to do good for ourselves, our families, and those around us in our community. Please bless this meeting with your spirit, your guidance, and your insight into the things that we need to do to come together in unity so that we might move forward as a community. Amen.
Thank you. Thank you, brother Stephen Muhammad. It's always a pleasure to see you, and I know you'll be back with your questions momentarily. I want to allow our beloved brother, I'm trying to I want our beloved brother, uh, State Senator Jason, to share a few words before we get into our first question. Do you have something you would like to say to our listening audience, beloved?
Absolutely. And I want to thank you, brothers, for having me. Thank you for organizing this and for engaging um, Black men all across the state. And I know this organization is doing it across the country, but specifically focused in on Georgia. There's a lot that we can be doing to advance the Black community. And it starts with having a governor that has Black men top of mind in everything that we do. And I am certainly one that will do that, not just saying that with words, but with actions. It's what I've done as a state senator. It's what I did as a school board member. Uh, Good evening, everyone. I'm Jason Esteves, running for governor. I am a father of two children, 7-year-old Zoe, 10-year-old Jaden, and my wife and I are small business owners. We own uh, two breakfast restaurants and an urgent care. I'm also a lawyer, but most importantly, I'm running because I want to make sure that I give the hardworking people of this state a fair shot. For far too long, the folks in this state have not had an equal playing field, and I'm working to level that playing field. It's what I've done my whole life. I started my career out as a middle school social studies teacher. And it's what I did as a teacher. Shout out to all the educators, Brother Jones, I see you. Um,
He
but
saw
look,
that.
yeah, at the end of the day, what I want to make sure is that we live in a state where no matter where you live, you have the opportunity to thrive. If you work hard, then you can live a life where you can afford to have a roof over your head in a safe community, and where your children have more opportunities than what you've had. So, what does that mean? That means making sure that in addition to fighting back against the chaos that's coming out of DC, which I'm sure a lot of my Democratic colleagues will talk about. It's focusing in on what the main thing is, and for me, the main thing is our families, which is why I talk about three things. I talk about wealth, health, and opportunity. No matter who you are, no matter what you look like, that's what you care about. You care about ensuring that there is health in your family, that you have access to the health care that you need, that you have opportunities to keep and grow the money in your pocket so you can enjoy your life, and that our children and our grandchildren have more opportunities than what we've had. So everything that I talk about this evening, everything that I talk about on the campaign trail will be centered around those three things: health, wealth, and opportunity. I look forward to answering all your questions, but know that the only way we build this state, build a better Georgia, and ensure health, wealth, and opportunity for all Georgians across this state is by doing it together. And it starts with the black men in this chat, in the Zoom, working across the state to make it a reality.
I want to thank you for that amazing introduction. You left out two key points I know that some of us on here would like to find out. You say you own two eateries, breakfast eateries. Can you please tell us where they are?
Yeah, so I own I own the Flying Biscuit Cafe. Now I don't own all the Flying Biscuits. I just own two of them.
Which one?
One in my
Which two you own?
Yeah, the one in my hometown of Columbus, Georgia, the one in downtown Columbus, and I own the one in Macon, Georgia.
Oh wow, you got to come. Well, you got to come back this way,
Right.
Jason. I mean, you got to wait a minute, man. You too far away for breakfast.
Yeah,
By the time we
my
get there, you be shut down, and we be looking for lunch or dinner.
well,
So,
my wife has her urgent care in Northwest Atlanta, so we actually own small businesses in Atlanta, in Macon, and in Columbus,
but
which gives me a unique perspective on what's happening in different parts of the state.
yeah, but you get a better perspective. You open up one of them eateries over here in Southwest Atlanta. That's all. I'm just throwing a hint out there. You know
It's
what I'm
on the
saying?
radar, brother. It's on the
Yes,
radar for sure.
yes, sir, yes, sir. Because we need more eateries. I want to let you know the ground rules. Each participant will ask a question, and then you will have 3 minutes that will appear on the timer here. And when you hear the buzz it, we will move on to the next question because we want to make certain that we get it all in. But our big brother Al is going to ask the first question, and Al, state your full name and the city that you're from in Georgia.
My name is A.L. Zollicoffer. I'm from Marietta, Georgia. I am the moderator, coordinator of the Georgia Missionary Baptist Convention. First question I have to ask you, Brother Jason, Senator Jason, excuse me, development without displacement. The question is, if you appointed governor, how would you direct state agencies, housing authorities, and economic development entities to prevent displacement, become developers, causing black men to become developers and contractors and property owners?
Yeah, so I appreciate that question, brother. And there are a couple ways we do it. One, we need to have a governor that will stop writing blank checks to big corporations without requiring something in return. And that's what governors have been doing for far too long. You will not see me write a blank check without making sure that companies who are receiving your taxpayer dollars fulfill the promises that they have made to the community. And there's no better example of that than what we see with the Hyundai plant, where Kemp gave Hyundai $1.8 billion to create 7,500 jobs, but the contract does not require it to be 7,500 jobs for Georgians. It just says 7,500 jobs. So that's an example of what I would change. I would make sure that whatever state dollars are being given out, that they're giving out to companies that are going to ensure that they're hiring Georgians, that they're investing in apprenticeship programs, investing in local programming, ensuring that these companies are entering into community benefits agreements, that help benefit the communities that they are building in. And that's whether it's a commercial development or a housing development. I think it's incredibly important that we have a governor, and I'm certainly one that understands this. We have to build a lot of housing in the next 5 years. And I want to stop private equity funds from buying up all of our single family homes. That will give uh, people in the community an opportunity to build their wealth by owning a home. So there are examples within the commercial space. There are examples in the private space with housing that I think, as governor on day one, I can actually have an impact in. But here's what I will say about ensuring development without displacement is the only way you ensure it is by having us be at the table and in the conversation when these deals are being made. Development should not happen to communities. It should be happening with communities. So that means making sure that communities are engaged and involved with development as it happens. And that means having Black people at the table as these discussions are being had. What we do know with data centers, for example, which receive hundreds of millions of dollars each year from the state of Georgia to develop, is that they are targeting Black communities, and they try to tell us that they will bring economic development without any guarantee other than placing a massive building and using up a lot of water and electricity. And what I want to make sure we do is we stop writing these blank checks to people who are not benefiting our community.
Oh, well, thank you, Senator. Now we're going to have, and I appreciate because I saw the response on some of the brothers that you were spot on in that answer. And also, I want to say that it's very beneficial that we have this opportunity because it would also help you as a candidate and your message in terms of knowing the pulse beat of what Black men in particularly are looking for across the state, because Black men will make a difference in this election, and as a matter of fact will determine the outcome of it. So we're very understanding of that. I want to big brother Sammy Ray James from Augusta, would you ask your question?
Oh, yes. First of all, thank you for this great opportunity. Can you hear me well?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm in my car, so if it looks dark, it's because I didn't get a chance to make it home. I'm Pastor James from Augusta, Georgia, Destiny Worship Center Ministries. Here, my 27 years in the military, I retired as a sergeant major. So I'm glad that you are actually having this time with us on today. And I'm going to make this happen with my questions as fast as I possibly can. The first question, the basic context is that there's no executive blueprint that exists. My question is, would you lead the development of a Georgia Black men's economic empowerment blueprint, state funded, community governed, and tied to measurable outcomes in jobs, wealth, land, and business ownership?
Thank you, brother Sammy.
Absolutely. And Pastor, thank you for your service to the country. My dad served 20 years in the Army. So shout out to all the veterans for everything that you've done. And the answer is yes. I think that it's incredibly important for us to be intentional about advancing our community. And you don't do it by rhetoric without there being something written down that people are engaging with and working towards each and every day. So not only will I ensure that there's a blueprint, that there's a plan, but that we're setting annual goals and that we are working together through a governor appointed council, advisory council that is working through that blueprint and reporting it out to the community all across the state. And I will tell you that I'm not going to start when I'm governor. I'm actually starting now, which is why very soon I'm going to be announcing my plan specifically as it relates to Black men and how I will ensure that we are working towards health, wealth, and opportunity for Black men in Georgia. Because I believe it's important that we call it out, we speak about it, and that we not push it behind the scenes like it's been done in the past. If you want something to be done, and I learned this a long time ago with my dad, If you want something to be done, you need to plan for it, you need to write it down, and you need to execute on it. And that's what I will do as governor.
I want to thank you for your answer because is you're right in step with us. We believe we attach economic to our vote because health, wealth, and opportunity. So we want to be healthy, and then we need to be healthy to gain the wealth that we need, and then we need to explore all the opportunities that will come along with it. So we have an economic agenda, and we know that if we able to have the proper wealth, we can gain the kind of we have proper economics, we can gain the kind of wealth that we all desire and seek. I want to now have Brother Bishop Robert Hargrove to come on, unmute your phone. Not unmuting. There you go. Yes,
Good.
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You got it locked down, bro.
Yeah, I know, because I
You
don't
got
want
it locked down.
I'm not gonna have nobody come on here and cutting up while I got the senator on here.
Yeah, I'm trying to see which one of
And
y'all cut up because
yeah,
he
yeah,
has it locked down now.
I got double clearance to make sure it's really you and not somebody with an AI photo of you trying to get on.
Well,
So yes, sir.
I was trying to get it, but thank you. Greetings, brothers, and pardon my tardiness, Father Jason. Thank you for your zeal. Thank you for your labor of love for our state. I'm calling on representing Camden County, St. Mary's, Georgia, down in the Bluff. And in line with what you were just saying, I want to ask a question about executive inclusion, because as you all aware, Georgia has never formally, amen, embody Black men into the executive governance. And so my question is, if you are elected governor, how will you institutionalize organic Black men within the executive branch through appointments, adversary bodies, agency decision-making, so their governing partners, listen, but the key to it is with no outside advocates.
But,
We don't have to partner with the ladies or the Latinos or with the Koreans, just organic Black men.
I want to add, so I didn't share with our brother Senator Jason what we mean when we say organic Black men. That we represent, we come out of direct pain of our people and suffering today, and that I say that from the standpoint that we're not monolithic, to which all of us in the Black community don't think alike. And so we're very clear about that. So other people cannot speak for us that are coming directly out of the pain and suffering that we see every day in our community and that's out here on the front line to make a difference. So I know that you are aware of that. So I just wanted to clear the air to you and anyone else that's on here or listen afterwards will want to know what is organic. We come up out of the root, we come up out of the mud, the dirt, and the pain and suffering, and here we are today. So you can continue now. Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you, Dr. Rob, and I look forward to going down to Camden County here soon, down in Southeast Georgia. So look, we have to, what I'm going to make sure I do as governor is appoint organic Black men at the highest levels of government. And that means ensuring that there are heads of agencies and that there are people in my cabinet, my advisors, that are organic Black men. And again, this is an example. When I tell you I'm talking, I'm also walking the walk. When you look at my campaign, my two senior advisors are organic Black men. So I don't just talk the talk, I walk the walk. And I will make sure to also establish an advisory council that reports directly to the governor, that I meet with directly, that in addition to ensuring that our economic empowerment blueprint is implemented over the course of my time in office, that I can check in with and talk through what issues Black men are facing all across the state. And so I want to hear directly from people in the community in my office uh, down at the Capitol, and I'm going to make sure that we do that. And like I said, it's also important to make sure that as we talk about institutionalizing um, having organic black men in the executive branch, it also means having a specific agenda and target to make sure that that happens. So there'll be a lot of candidates that will be telling you a lot of stuff, but they won't have it written down on paper. And know that I'm actually going to have it written down on paper so that there is no confusion on what my plan is, and you can come to me and say, "Hey, this is what you said,"
Oh, we
and let's
recording
check up against that.
it. Yes, sir.
Right. And look, I'm going to be honest with you. Democrats haven't done a good job of that, and I know that there are folks on both sides of the aisle. When I saw Trump come out with the platinum plan, I thought it was a clear miss that Democrats didn't do the same thing. That should have been done a long time ago, because if we can come out with plans on other important issues, maternal health, mental health, on advancing the Latino community, then there's no reason we can't come out with a plan specifically on black men. So, like I said, I will make sure to invite all of you to our launch of our initiative, our agenda as it relates to black men, so that you see that when I'm talking, I'm also doing the walking as well. I'm just not going to get on the Zoom and tell you a whole bunch of stuff and not follow up. I'm actually moving forward with making sure that what I say becomes a reality, and that starts with actually putting it down on paper and following through, holding myself accountable to make it happen.
I want to thank you. That's a great response. We have a very extensive agenda that's on our website, because we're not concerned about other folks' agenda. We have to have an agenda to move forward, not only for black men, but for the black community. And so therefore we welcome your response to the question. Brother Ben Brooks, will you unmute your phone and
Hey,
ask
can I
that
say
question?
something specific? I
Yes, sir.
want to be specific about this. I also look forward to having some of y'all directly advising me as well as part of that council. So I just want to make that clear, that it's important to have people who are in the community on the front lines doing this work, uh, advising the governor on these issues as well.
Brother Jason, it appears you did your homework a little bit. You got the right talking points,
Hey,
brother.
look,
You got
I'm
the
gonna
right
tell you,
talking
look,
points, man. I'm
brother,
just trying to tell you. I don't know
the
how
funny
good your breakfast place is, because we ain't gonna. It don't look like we gonna be able to get none, brothers, because we too
look.
far away.
You it's fun. It's funny. I'm looking around at everybody's head, and y'all's head look a lot like mine. But I'm at the barbershop every week, so I know what we talk about every single day,
Yes,
right? So
sir.
I didn't need to prepare a lot.
Right, right, right,
All I
right.
need to do is listen to what people are saying, while I'm getting my bald head shaved now a little bit.
Right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We appreciate that. Brother Ben Brooks, he could take off his hat. He look like your cousin. But
That's I knew that was coming, and I was going to go ahead and try to preempt you, but you already jumped on it. But I
yes,
thought
sir.
that when I saw your picture, I was looking at myself because I'm like, yeah, your head looks just like mine.
Right,
But
right, right.
it's just
I'm
hey,
holding on a little bit.
Okay.
listen, I'm holding on too. It's confidence. You gotta love you. But um, so the question here is this question regards all farmers, but with a particular eye on black farmers, land loss, and agricultural equity. Black farmers continue losing land across Georgia and across America, but we're specifically talking about Georgia. What legislative actions, if any, have you taken while in office, and which would you would take to protect black farmers through land preservation, equity and procurement access, agricultural investment, and reforms within the Georgia Department of Agriculture?
Yeah. So I'm gonna start with the last thing first, which is making sure that the Department of Agriculture is diverse. Now, I as governor would not have direct control of ag, because the ag commissioner is elected independently. But what I would do, I would do what I can as governor to make sure that the agriculture department is diverse and has organic black men representing the department. and Tyler Harper is the commissioner, statewide elected official over agriculture. In addition to that, at the end of the day, farmers are small business owners. And I'm going to talk about this a little bit later, but I have proposed $1 billion low interest loan and grant program for entrepreneurs and small business owners. So I would ensure that farmers, especially Black farmers, are able to tap into that fund to get the capital that they need. But I also believe heavily that we should be investing in our farmers, and particularly Black farmers. And one way to do that is by using federal and state dollars to ensure that the one institution that makes food almost every day, that they buy local. They buy from small farmers, and that is our school systems across the state. What I want to make sure we do is that we have a program that has our school systems buy their produce from farmers. That's going to directly benefit those Black farmers that are trying to compete against the big corporations that unfortunately are doing a lot to squeeze out the little guy. So I want to make sure that our school systems are spending dollars with those small farmers, and that's a win-win. It helps those Black farmers that are having to compete against much larger corporations, but it also ensures that our babies are getting healthy foods straight from farmers that we know are doing the right thing all across the state. So that is a specific program that I have supported in the past. I will tell you that Brian Kemp stayed silent when Donald Trump cut funding for that program here in Georgia, and as a result, it was eliminated. You won't see me stay silent when programs like that are eliminated because that ultimately helps our community, and we've seen that funding go away. The other thing that I did as a legislature is I voted for legislation that would help preserve farming land for farmers and provide them with tax incentives to do so. And I will continue to ensure that Black farmers have access to that specific program.
Brother Ben, you didn't state what part of Georgia you was from. Can you let us know that?
I'm from DeKalb. I'm from DeKalb County, the Atlanta side of it. So it's DeKalb County, but it's within the limits of the city limits of Atlanta.
Very good.
Brother Joe, can you unmute your phone?
Yes, brother, I can hear you.
Well, I can't see you. There you go.
Yeah, I'm driving.
Okay. Can you ask the senator your question and introduce yourself?
Okay. Very good. Senator Jason, I'm Joe Chappelle from Atlanta. Well, I'm not from Atlanta, Florida, but I live in Atlanta, Georgia the last 24 years. I have a question regarding education reform and how we haven't seen a significant economic tie into being for equity and economic power. My question as governor, how will you connect education policy to ownership, entrepreneurship, and wealth creation, ensuring Black men benefit from economic growth beyond the workforce participation?
Yeah, I believe strongly in ownership. We have to be able to make money for ourselves, and that goes beyond just working for someone. It goes beyond just being on payroll. It's being the one that actually has to make payroll. And I've seen that. I've worked in corporate America for over 10 years. I'm a lawyer. Was a lawyer at a law firm, and then a lawyer at a big corporation for 10 years. And I've had those small businesses for the last 4 years, and I will tell you that if there's more empowerment, it feels better when you're making money for yourself. And what I want to make sure I do is I change the perspective that we've taken towards education, because in the last 30 years, education has been really focused in on working for someone. And it's been focused on going to college. And if you don't go to college, then you've failed. And then in college, they tell you, okay, here are the specific careers where you can get hired from a company and be successful. What I want to make sure we do is that, sure, we leave those pathways open and continue that. At the same time, we need to promote entrepreneurship and small business ownership because nothing beats making money for yourself. So I want to make sure we start early by having entrepreneurship and small business ownership classes and programs in high school so that our children are starting early on how they can make money for themselves. This generation is very entrepreneurial, and I want to make sure we tap into those talents that they already have. The other thing I want to make sure we do is that we have historic investments in apprenticeship programs because there is no problem with putting dignity back into work. If you don't want to go to college and you want to jump straight into a trade, then we should celebrate you just like we celebrate someone going to Morehouse or UGA or anywhere else. So I want to make sure that we are celebrating those who are in apprenticeship programs, those who jump straight into trades, and how does that relate to ownership? Because a lot of those plumbers and electricians and HVAC techs are small business owners. They work for themselves, and I want to make sure that we are tapping in to that pathway as an opportunity to build wealth. I know that I called the electrician a couple months ago, and when I got that invoice, I immediately knew that he was making some money. So we got to make sure that we are giving Black men not just the pathway to own your own business, but also the encouragement to do it early on, not just later in life, but early on. We should be talking to them about this. And the last thing that I will say is that $1 billion plan that I announced to have $1 billion in low interest loans and grants for entrepreneurs is incredibly important because the number one barrier to Black men opening their own small business is access to capital. So I want to make sure that I work with CDFIs, community development financial institutions all across this state to provide Black men with the capital that they need to start their own business. And I will partner with those financial institutions, but I'm also going to partner with the Black chambers across the state to make sure that they are trained and mentored so that they're actually successful in opening their own small business.
Thank
So
you.
there's a lot of
Thank you so much,
opportunity.
Senator. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Our next question, Brother Stephen Muhammad, and let the senator know where you're from.
Uh, yes, it's Brother Stephen Muhammad. Thank you, Senator. And it's a good way to segue into my question. I'm from Southwest Atlanta. Um, how would you use the governor's office to redesign statewide systems for literacy, mentorship, and behavioral health pathways, and leadership development for young Black boys to get them in the direction? I heard you mention as you segued into this about job training, job core, those sort of skills and testing and skills, the skilled trades. So, but how would you do it to just overall from your office, coordinate all of that to put it together to make it beneficial to lead to those opportunities you talked about for young Black males?
Yes, sir. Well, the first thing I would do is do what I did when I was chair of the school board for Atlanta Public Schools, and that's establish a Black Men's Council. And I did that as chair of the school board. The Black Men's Council had principals, had teachers, had administrators, had students on it because I wanted to make sure that I was receiving advice directly from the men who were impacted by it. And I also saw that there was a shortage of Black men teachers and supports for Black men in the school system. So I wanted to talk to a group of brothers about how we can improve it. So I would make sure to do that as governor because I can't change these systems without hearing directly from the people impacted by those systems on what we can do to improve. So I will first establish the council to make sure that I'm receiving that feedback directly from the people who have been most impacted by these systems. The second thing I would do is have a plan that is released to the public and have a public scorecard where we are keeping track of how we're making progress towards that agenda firsthand. and having that website published on a website. That's something else that we did when I was at Atlanta Public Schools. Our budget was public. Our progress towards goals was public on the website, and we were one of the most transparent school districts in the entire state as a result. I will tell you that when it comes to literacy, 70% of our children are not reading on grade level by the time they reach fourth grade in Georgia. That number is dramatically more than that when you're talking about Black boys. We're talking more than 80% of our children, of our Black boys, are not reading on grade level by the time they reach fourth grade. And that has to change. And the way to change that is going back to phonics. And Georgia has gone away from phonics. We have to go back to phonics so that by the time our children are done with elementary school, they're actually able to read, write, and do math, reading, writing, arithmetic. And that's just one example of something I'm going to tackle as governor.
Thank you, Senator. Our next question is uh, Brother Reverend Julius Scott. Can you introduce yourself, brother, and where you're from, and ask your question?
Yes, sir. My name is Julius Scott. I'm from Conyers, Georgia, which is Rockville County. I want to talk about how family policy actually programs in the legal system often sidelines Black men. What executive initiatives would you launch to strengthen Black fatherhood, mentorship, and make leadership integrating integrating these priorities across education, health, workforce, and justice agencies?
Yeah, well, the first thing, and I did this as state senator, and I would make sure as governor to advance these proposals, is uh, make sure that the system, the legal system, is fair for fathers. And the reality is that uh, sometimes fathers are left out of decision making when it comes to their children, and that those decisions are made by mothers and judges. So I want to make sure that we level the playing field and make it fair for fathers to claim their rightful role in the lives of their children. And that can be done through legislation. I've supported legislation like that as a state senator, and I will make sure to push that type of legislation when I'm governor. My colleague from Savannah, Derek Mallow, has been a significant, a huge advocate when it comes to advocating for Black fatherhood in the legislature, and I would certainly continue to support the initiatives that he brings forward. Look, I'm gonna tell you that we need to talk about Black fatherhood more than we do, and not talk about it. When I say it, I'm not talking about in the negative. I'm talking about highlighting the positives because there are so many great examples as I hear my children running by me, and I'm about to stop and tell them to not be so loud. But there are so many examples of 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 Black men being fathers, being great fathers, and they are not highlighted enough. And I will tell you that there to me there would be nothing more inspirational than having me as governor with a 7 and 10 year old, and people across the state seeing the governor coaching his daughter in basketball or soccer, or cheering on his son while his son is playing basketball and soccer. I think that setting that image alone is one that is extremely positive, and one that the state is certainly missing. But as governor, I will have no problem with talking about the fact that uh, brothers need to reclaim their role in our society. And for too long, we've been pushed aside. There's been a focus in other areas. And I think that it's important to tell people that by focusing in on Black men, it doesn't say anything about Black women or women generally. What it means is, in order for our society to thrive, we need to make sure that men thrive. We need to make sure that men are empowered when it comes to health, wealth, and opportunity, just like everyone else. And if we don't talk about that, and we're not open and transparent about that, then men suffer. And look, women are the mothers of black boys. My wife is the
Mm.
mother of a black boy. So we see this firsthand, and it's something that we as a state needs to talk about more. Last thing I will say,
Mhm.
I will be directly supporting community organizations on the ground that are doing this work already. I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. There are great organizations across the state, grassroots organizations that y'all are part of and that y'all know that need resources so that they can mentor and help young men be fathers. And I want to make sure that we're supporting those organizations from the executive level and that we're convening those organizations on an annual basis so that we can help to advance the agenda forward from a statewide perspective.
It's interesting that you said that before we go into our next question by Brother Jeffrey Hargrove, is that there's a group, and I'm not going to put their name on blast, on that's attempting to manipulate the pain of black men in Georgia, and they're presently um, using the pain of black men to recruit black men for something else, and it's presently happening. They have reached out to some of the members, even in our body across the state. But when I asked them, "Well, who are you? How do you get my number? It's private. Who gave you my number? Who referred you to me?" They couldn't answer that. And then he told me how he told me how he got my number, and I told him that was illegal. So what is your motive? What is your real motive for setting up these gathering of black men in certain key demographic areas here in Fulton County and DeKalb County and Cobb County? So we on to them, and we giving them fair warning. And we can sidebar about it later, but I want you to be aware that everybody knocking on the door, they not sincere. You understand, Senator? So there's something going on in terms of why they are coming after black men in Georgia in particular, and they coming through the pain and suffering of black men, but they have another a motive behind it, and it's not for sincerely for addressing our problems. You understand what I'm saying? So
It's about exploitation, not
it's
not
it,
about
and
advancement.
and that's exactly what they're doing because they know that black men in particular are very or everybody nobody cares about us. That's why we're not Republican, Democrat. We looking to develop an alliance with those that's willing to develop an alliance with us for our agenda. That's what we're about. We don't hate no other groups. We don't consider ourselves and don't want to be a part of this minority group or coalition. We have our agenda. We are very sacred and committed to our agenda, and we're going to move forward with that. But I just want to put that out there because it's something that has to be addressed, and we looking into it. And I told them we're going to expose you. We're going to expose you. So because they got another motive going on, and it's not good for us, and we can't allow that to happen any longer. Go ahead, brother Jeffrey, and introduce yourself and the city you're from.
Yes, good evening, Senator Esteves, and thanks so much for your time. My name is Jeff Hargrove. I'm out of Gwinnett County, Decula, Georgia. And earlier, I heard you say that you would create or form, I believe I heard you say, so let me make sure that you would form an organic Black Men statewide advisory council. Did I hear you correctly?
You heard that
Okay.
correct.
So I wanted to dig a little further into that. Oftentimes, advisory bodies rarely influence outcomes. Would you, with this council, give them real authority over policy review, grants, contracts, and implementation across state agencies?
Yes, to the extent we can with the law. So, and the reason I'm careful with that because when you talk about cross agency, I'm sure that there will be some legislative action that would be required there. which with the legislature that we have today, that may not be as realistic as we would want. But I will use every tool that I can, every power that I have, to make sure that the advisory council has real power. And one of the ways that I know, even without having been in the office, that we can do that is by not only like I said before, it's about not only having the advisory council, it's actually having the plan that is announced and published and on the website, and something that we are touting throughout the state. That is real. That will have real accountability where people are going to be able to talk about it at the barbershop and be like, "Hey, Governor Esteves said he was going to do X, Y, and Z," and I either see it happening or I don't, right? So that's real accountability. The other thing that I want the advisory to do, when I talked about in the last question about the convening of grassroots organizations, of the community groups that are actually doing the work on the ground, I want the council to actually be leading those convenings on my behalf. So doing that work of coordinating the services that are being provided across the state through these community groups on my behalf. So there will be real power, real tasks being given to that advisory council. It won't just be giving the governor advice. It's going to be a lot more than that. Because at the end of the day, I think it's incredibly important that we tell people I am going to deliver as governor. And I say that because we have no excuse, we have no option, especially with what we've seen from Donald Trump. In 2025, he delivered on Project 2025 in less than a year. So here's what I've been told at the barbershop. How can Donald Trump deliver on all his promises in 1 year? And Democrats have been talking about all this stuff for a long time, and they've been making excuses the whole way through. Now you can see me in the chair, and I was squirming because is true. What he has shown us is where there's a will, there's a way. So I want to make sure that we actually deliver on what I'm talking about. So when I talk about health, wealth, opportunity, and I give you specific ideas, I'm going to deliver on those ideas because people in the streets are going to be watching to make sure that I'm actually practicing what I'm preaching, that I'm walking what I'm talking. And there won't be any excuses because Donald Trump has shown us that if you want to get something done in government, you can do it.
Thank you so much. Our next brother with his question, Brother Jones, would you unmute your phone? Yes, sir. And state your name and where you're from.
Yes, my name is Thaddeus D. Jones, and I am in South Fulton, Georgia, right here in the city of Fairburn. Thank you so much for being on the call today, Governor Esteves. Wanted to try that out and see how that sounded. And so I want to ask today about something that's I'm passionate about. A lot of times in government, you hear that there are temporary task forces that actually lack power at the executive level. When I want to talk about permanent executive structures for Black men, permanent executive structures for Black men, because in the former Georgia executive, state government or executive government, there are no permanent executive offices that are reserved exclusively for Black men or for any men for that matter. And even though there are historic and ongoing examples of Black men serving in Georgia's executive level government, roles and structures that include Black male leadership as part of the permanent framework of government is severely lacking. So my question to you, my brother, is would you be willing to establish a permanent governor-appointed office or commission for Black men's advancement with budget authority and possibly cross-cultural or cross-agency oversight?
Yes, and that's very similar to what Brother Jeff asked. So I'm going to tell you this. Here's what I'm committed to doing. I'm committed to two key things in addition to what I've already said. I will push for legislation that establishes that permanent authority because the legislature is going to have to do that in order for that commission to have or that office to have budget authority and cross-agency oversight, is going to require legislative action. So I will push that to make it a reality. But here's the second thing that is going to be needed in order to make that first thing happen, is that we're going to have to change the legislature. The legislature has to be more representative of the state of Georgia. And that's why it's incredibly important as I know y'all have a lot of different options when it comes to governor in this race. There are 13 people running, 7 on the Democratic side, 6 on the Republican side. We have to have a governor who's committed to this work for 2 terms. Why is 2 terms important? Because in 2030, maps are going to be drawn for the legislature. And if we want fair maps, if we want maps that look like the state of Georgia, where you'll have a legislature that is diverse like the state of Georgia, then we have to have a governor who's going to be at the seat of power to help make that map a reality. So, Brother Jones, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to push legislation. The second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that we have maps so that we can have representatives and senators that actually look like the state of Georgia so that they can approve that legislation. I don't think the legislature as it's composed right now, which does not look like the state of Georgia, will pass that legislation. But I can promise you that I will do those 2 things to make sure it becomes a reality.
Thank you, Senator. Brother Stephen Muhammad has another question.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Brother Emmanuel. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
Y'all can. I want to say this. I just want to dovetail off of something that Brother Emmanuel said about black men, organic black men, and unity. Because you have health, wealth, and opportunity. In opportunity, the last word is unity. Then you have community. The last word is unity. Immunity, the last word is unity. And impunity. So when you take all of these things and you combine them, it means that we need unity among black men. And that's what this organization represents. We're in unity, but we're not uniform. I'm a Muslim. Brother Emmanuel is a Hebrew. We got Christian pastors. We are a diverse group of people, just like the human body. You have the eyes, you have the heart, you have the lungs, you have the liver, but they all work together for the good of the whole. And we're working together for the good of the whole black community, for the whole, regardless, more than just us, because if the policies that we're advocating for are implemented, people that don't even know us would benefit. It would benefit the entire community.
That's right.
And I say this is because sometimes groups on the outside like this aren't really respected as they should. 30 years ago, I was the Southern Regional Director for the Million Man March. And I appointed Reverend Timothy McDonald and Reverend Gerald Durley as the overseers for Atlanta, to put them over Atlanta. And they did a fantastic job in bringing in Reverend Joe Lowry, Reverend Orange, Reverend Osborne, Reverend Dr. Andy Young. So all of them came together. So when you bring black men together and you do things for the good of the black man, it'll benefit the whole entire state. That I know. I saw that 30 years ago. And so I wanted to go into this question. When it comes to entrepreneurship, what will you do to incentivize entrepreneurship among black men so that we can come together financially and build our community? Because when we create more jobs, crime will go down. We create more jobs, mental health problems will be resolved. When we create more jobs, there'll be more marriages and there'll be more children, sons and daughters with fathers in the home, which will create a better community. So how will you incentivize this to help black men to fulfill the goals that they have in life, entrepreneurial wise and otherwise?
Yeah. Thank you for that question, brother. And
I'm thinking I'm about to take them notes on the words that you use for unity.
Yeah.
Well, unity is the key. See, most people think when we say unity, they think it's uniformity. Brother Emmanuel and I are in unity, and you're a Christian. He's a Hebrew. I'm a Muslim. We're in unity tonight, but we're not uniform. I'm going to go away from here because I'm a vegetarian, eat something vegetarian. You might go get a steak. Emmanuel might go get chicken. But we're in unity here, but we're not uniformity, and we're working for the whole. And that's what I would like to see in unity, because all of the words that have unity in them bring us together. but we don't have to be the same. We don't look the same. You're light skinned. I'm brown skin. Somebody else is dark skin. Somebody had straight hair and then nappy hair, wide nose, pointed nose, gapped in my teeth, whatever. But we have to work in unity. And that's why when you said opportunity, I said, okay, that's a good thing. There's unity in that. The last word of all of the things you have is unity. So we want to be in unity with you, and we want you to be in unity with us so that you can bring about your policies and we can help you do that. I'm through. I'm done.
You
You
might hear
done?
me. You might hear me say that in a forum or in a debate.
You own it. You got it. You can have it. You can
I
have it.
love.
You can
I'm
have that.
telling you, I
It's
love it.
You can have it.
Yeah.
But
Well,
that's what
look.
I preach: unity. I'm a unity man. I'm Nation of
Yeah,
Islam. It's unity in the Black community.
that's right.
That's it.
Doesn't mean we're uniform, but we are all working towards the whole.
That's right.
Well, look. Here's what I'll tell you. When you hear ownership and you hear owning the block, it means more than just owning a home. It also means owning the businesses on that block. And I want to make sure that I, as governor, show our entrepreneurs, our small business owners, as much love as Brian Kemp has shown Hyundai and Rivian. I want to make sure that the access to capital that people need to start their own business, that they have that access. The tax incentives. There are tax incentives that are specifically focused in on large corporations. I want to make sure that we open that up so that entrepreneurs and small business owners have that same access to those tax incentives because that's again important to ensuring that business owners can grow or even create their own wealth. So the $1 billion low interest loan fund is something that I believe is incredibly important. Tax incentives, opening that up is incredibly important. The other thing that I will say is that we have to cut the red tape for business ownership and owning your own business. That's incredibly important because as someone who has opened businesses in Atlanta and Macon and Columbus, I can tell you that the paperwork and the process are different in each county, and it's incredibly challenging. And I say that as an attorney navigating it, so the average person has even harder time, or they have to hire somebody. I believe that we can make government more efficient and easier for those small businesses and entrepreneurs to actually to actually create and open their business. So I want to make sure we're working with cities and counties to cut the red tape and reduce the amount of paperwork and process that you have to go through to start your own business. And the last thing that I will say is that it's incredibly important that we work with local groups to provide the mentorship, not just as people are opening their own small business, but at the beginning in high school and in middle school with entrepreneurship programs, ensuring that people are getting the training that they need so that they can be successful when they embark on their for themselves. And then the very last tidbit is we need to bring financial literacy back as a curriculum in our schools because all of this that we're talking about uh, revolves around financial literacy. And I want to make sure that as we are working to empower people with opportunity, that they don't lose it because they didn't know any better. And we all know because of the poverty that exists, because of the lack of education that exists, not everybody is able to get that information that they need, and that takes making sure that people are educated on financial literacy. Yes, sir, brother. I see you. I see you. Zero.
okay. Brother Ben Brooks, would you come on with your next question?
All right. Excuse me. The next question is regarding. I'm going to add this in there because you mentioned it, literacy and legitimation of fathers' rights, because Black men, men in general, but Black men have the hardest time legitimating their relationship between their child and Georgia. And the statute in itself does not allow for a seamless process. And that needs to be looked at in terms of, I know you couldn't propose legislation regarding that, but you could support that when regards to legitimation in terms of easing that process so that fathers can easily be legitimated and have rights over their child so that their children can inherit from them as well. And this ties into the question that I'm going to ask. Um, Regarding comprehensive reentry and second chance reform, have you sponsored or supported any such bills while in office? And knowing that Georgia remains restrictive regarding returning citizens, would you be supportive of a comprehensive reentry package that includes limiting employer access to criminal records unless job relevant, ending corporate prison labor statewide, prohibiting discrimination based solely on felony history, restoring full civil rights after 5 crime-free years, establishing a state-funded employer bond program to eliminate to deal with high-risk hiring. And also in that same regard is open it up because a lot of employers deal with the insurance companies, and that's why they kind of have a restrictive policy hiring people with felonies because they say it's against the insurance policy. So with those questions, um, I'll let you go ahead and answer those.
Yeah. And the answer to all that is yes, 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 yes on all those programs. Look, it's not only an economic issue. To me, it's a criminal justice and safety issue. Because here's what happens is that when someone goes into prison for something that they were foolish on when they were younger and they serve their time, we tell them that they are in there to rehabilitate themselves. But then when they were released, we didn't prepare them for getting a job. We didn't educate them. So when they're out there, they don't necessarily have the tools to get a good paying job. Even if they have a good paying job, because of the background check, because of the stigma that people have around felons, then it's seen as, oh, I can't hire you. I know a brother who served 7 years for armed robbery that he committed at 18. He's a changed man. He did it when he was young, and he is educated. He educated himself in prison. He has gone for jobs, and he's made it to the final interview each and every time because the prospective employers have liked him every single time. But once they run the background check, he doesn't get the job. And then he can't get an apartment because every time he applies for the apartment, they run the background check and he's denied. And then he can't vote because he's a felon. So we're telling this brother who served his time, who's trying to make his right, he wants to be a productive citizen, that he can't work, he can't live in our community, and he can't vote in our community. What option are we giving him but to just go back to the streets and go back to doing what he was doing? That has to change. And as governor, I'm going to make sure that we implement policies, that we pass legislation that prioritizes reentry for those who have served their time, and know that I understand that issue firsthand because I've seen it through friends, I've seen it in the community, and it's something that if we want to economically empower people, if we want to lower recidivism of people committing crimes over and over again, and if we want to build a safe and welcoming community for all, then we have to adopt those policies. So ultimately, Brother Brooks, yes to all those.
Thank you, Senator. Our next question will come from Brother Joe. Would you ask your next question, Joe?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. As governor, governors usually shape budget priorities. What measurable benchmarks, public scorecards, and performance metrics would you require across agencies to ensure state spending produces real gains for Black men across the state?
Yeah, so the first thing we have to do is make sure that we publish our state budget in detail and that we are providing the people of this state with where the money is, what it's being spent on, and when. State of Georgia doesn't do that. When I was chair of the school board, we opened up our budget in Atlanta Public Schools to let people see it, to let people see where the money was going, so that they understood where their tax dollars were going. That is no different. We all pay income tax. We all pay state tax. state sales tax, and we all pay property taxes. From the state level on down, there should be no excuse for not publishing and being transparent about where money is going. So that's the first thing, brother, that I will make sure that we do is that we are transparent about where the money is, where it's going, and when it's being spent. The second thing I want to do, and this requires us to be a little bit more delicate, is we have to set goals. We have to be transparent about how money is being spent, which is why I want to make sure that more state contracts are going to small business owners, particularly when it comes to black businesses. I think that by being transparent about how much money is being spent on small business owners, on black people, on black men in particular, then you shine a light on the issues that we have in the system. Last I checked, I think that state contracts less than 1% were going to black male-owned businesses. That's a problem. But no one's talking about it because we don't have it published anywhere, right? So as governor, I want to make sure that we do it. Again, I could talk the talk all I want. I've actually done that. When I was chair of the school board, I ordered the Atlanta Public Schools Board of Education ordered the school system to study this, to study how many contracts were going to black businesses, how many contracts were going to small businesses generally. And the numbers were terrible. But because we published it, because I require the superintendent to report out on it each and every year, the numbers started to go up because she didn't want to have to come back and show that we didn't make progress, right? So that's the kind of leadership that I'm going to have as governor to make sure that those numbers continue to go up. We have to shine a light on it, and that takes transparency and takes accountability.
Thank you. Brother Jeffrey Hargrove has another question.
So this sort of connects to your question, earlier statement, I should say, that you, when you were talking about entrepreneurship. But as you know, talent is often excluded by credentialism. So my question is, would you direct state agencies to create alternate credentialing and talent pipelines that recognize experience, leadership, and skills, connecting organic Black men to higher education, apprenticeships, and then state employment?
Good
Yes,
question.
without a doubt. And let me give you a specific example of that with veterans. Veterans have served our country. They have they have acquired skills while they're in the service, but because they don't necessarily have the certifications that people do in the private sector, they don't have the appropriate licensing and certification. So I will make sure that we develop those alternate pathways, those alternate certifications, so that people like our veterans are able to work without having to go back to school, without having to get trained. Oftentimes, those folks have more experience in that job than the people who are actually certified, right? So we have to make sure that we're recognizing those experiences and those pathways that people have taken to get to where they are. And a specific example of that, because I know we have some veterans on the call, is what our veterans have done when they're in the military.
Thank you so much. Our next, Mr. Jones, can you unmute your phone?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Mr. Esteves, I want to talk to you about mental health and public safety for a moment. So as a candidate for governor, we are interested in learning about your plans and how you plan to address the mental health crisis that is currently in Georgia right now, and particularly in situations where law enforcement becomes the first responder to individuals that are experiencing mental health crisis. There have been some recent incidents in Georgia all across the state that have illustrated the difficulty that law enforcement encounters when they are the first responders to individuals who are in mental health crisis. And these incidents oftentimes underscore the need for not only clear policy solutions, but effective strategies to address these sometimes, as we have seen, tragic encounters. So, as governor who oversees the crisis response systems, how would you shift Georgia's mental health crisis response away from law enforcement and toward professionals, community based teams, and prevention using executive coordination and funding authority?
Yeah, and thank you so much for that. That's something that hits near and dear to my heart. First of all, Georgia is near the bottom when it comes to mental health access, access to mental health services. We're near the bottom, so we are in crisis. And I'm gonna give you an example of what the example you just gave, or what you just said, Brother Jones. In that my mom, my wife and I are caregivers of a mom with late stage Alzheimer's. My mom has she was diagnosed early. She was diagnosed at 59 years old, at 60 years old, and she is now 71 years old. So she's had the disease for 11 years. For some time, she lived with us, and at one point, we moved her into an assisted living facility. And she was going through an episode that many folks with Alzheimer's go through. She was getting frustrated, irritated, and she started yelling in her assisted living facility and started throwing things. Didn't hurt anybody, but she was just in a bad way. So the assisted living facility called the ambulance, called the call 911. The ambulance came out, said they couldn't do anything about it. They called the police. The police called me and said, "Sir, you have to come get your mom because the mental health facility doesn't have any beds. So you're gonna have to come get your mom, or we're gonna have to take her to jail." I had to leave my job and go get my mom because otherwise she would have been arrested. Now I know that had she been a man, there would have been no question. She would have been arrested. But that tells you how our mental health system is broken because after I picked her up and took her to the mental health facility, uh, we had to wait there in a waiting room that was packed to the brim. We had to wait there for 6 hours before she was seen.
Mm.
So we are in crisis. The way to fix that, three key ways. One, we need to expand access to health insurance, and particularly when it comes to Medicaid. We have to make sure that there's funding for mental health services. The second thing we have to do is we have to train more providers, more mental health therapists, more psychiatrists, more psychologists, to make sure that people have the providers in the community. The third thing we have to do is that we have to have access to those community organizations that are helping fill the gap, and with the crisis facilities that we don't have enough of. We have to build more of them. So I'm going to provide direct funding to those community organizations that are providing those services in the community. And I'm going to build more crisis centers throughout the state so that no one has to wait as long as 6 hours to get their loved one the care that they need to bring them down from a crisis. And I believe that if we do those three things, that we will put a big dent in our mental health crisis. At the end of the day, though, we need to have a governor that's actually speaking about the crisis that we're in. And I will tell you that Governor Kemp has not said anything about mental health in a long time.
Wow. And we'll be praying for your mother, brother.
Yes.
We'll be praying for your mother. You touched me with that one. Brother Al, can you come with your question, please?
Yes. Regarding justice reform from the executive branch, we know the governors have a great influence of policing, corrections, and also probation system. Our probation system. The question to you, Senator Jason, how would you use executive authority to reduce incarceration, reform probation, and dismantle PK to prison pipelines while improving public safety outcome?
Yeah. So thank you for that question. One quick note: the sheriffs also want me as governor to focus in on mental health. I've met with sheriffs all across the state, and each one mentions how mental health should be the number one issue that the governor deals with, because right now they are the number one mental health provider in the state, which is a moral and political failure on our part. When it comes to the pipeline that exists between our education to prison system, uh, one of the things that I will do as governor is I will take steps to reduce the number of people that are on probation in this state. Georgia has more people on probation than most countries do. That's how many people we have on probation. So I want to make sure that we reduce the probation population because that's an easy way for probation officers to put you back in prison. And our jails and our prisons are full of people who don't belong there. So I want to make sure that we focus in on those violent criminals, which means that those who don't necessarily need to be there should not be there, and reducing the number of people who are on probation is a way to do that. The other thing I want to make sure we do is that we do things like decriminalize and legalize marijuana. There are people who are serving years in prison for doing something that folks are doing legally in Colorado, in New York, in Florida, and about to be Alabama. And I believe that Georgia has to take steps to decriminalize and to legalize marijuana, and then pardon and commute the sentences of those who are in prison solely based on that. And that would free tens of thousands of individuals in the state of Georgia. We see the federal government taking steps towards doing that. Trump announced the rescheduling of cannabis already, and I would make sure that we do that at the state level. When it comes to dismantling the pre-K through prison pipeline, I will tell you that it starts early. Early education is incredibly important, making sure that our boys have the building blocks that they need to be able to do reading, writing, and arithmetic. But we also have to look at discipline. Our black boys are being targeted in classrooms across this state. There's a bias against black boys, and they are being disciplined at much higher rates. As governor, I'm going to make sure that we tackle that to reduce the discrepancy that exists between how black boys get disciplined and how everybody else gets disciplined.
Thank you, Senator. Brother Sammy, can you unmute?
Praise God once again. My question, the context is that many Black men feel alienated from state government. The question itself is, what specific executive actions would you take in your first year to rebuild trust with Black men who feel politically ignored through policy outcomes, appointments, and budget priorities?
Yeah, and thank you for that. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to appoint organic Black men to my cabinet, and I want
Whoa,
people.
whoa, 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 whoa! Oh, wait a minute now, brothers. We got to wait a minute now, brothers. We got to make sure we heard. We got to make sure we heard that right now. Now, go ahead and repeat that again, Senator.
Look, I'm going to appoint organic Black men to my cabinet, and I want to make sure that I've said that multiple times because I want the recording to be there. But I'm going to make sure that we appoint organic Black men to the cabinet. The other thing we're going to do, and I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but it's important, is we are going to announce the agenda. We are going to not only campaign on the agenda, we're going to solidify the agenda when I'm in office, and we're going to report out and constantly focus in on that agenda. That is important because Black men will be able to point to a specific agenda and follow along as progress is being made and hold me accountable if progress is not made. The other thing that I will do is constantly engage Black men. I will make sure that I will do it naturally in the spaces that I'm in, but I will make sure that I'm intentional about being in spaces and creating opportunities for Black men to engage directly with the governor's office and directly with the agencies that I oversee. I think it's important for us to do that, not just uh, in February like some people do, who have been elected in office. I will actually do it year round, and I've already talked about the convening that we should do with community groups that are supporting Black men. But in addition to that, I want to have town halls. I want to have meetings like we're having here this evening, not just during campaign time, but year round, so that you are able to not only ask me questions, but voice your concerns and hold me accountable in real time as I'm doing this work.
Thank you. Brother Julius, can you unmute your phone?
I Good afternoon again, Senator. Julia Scott from Conyers. Faith institutions have historically mobilized Black civic engagement, yet many men feel disconnected from both church and government. How would you see faith-based and community institutions partnering with state government to restore civic trust, leadership, development, and purpose among Black men? What role should legislation play in supporting that work?
Yeah, so we've seen faith-based organizations take a significant hit in the last couple decades, especially with the rise in social media, but also honestly in the rise of economic inequality. People feel, particularly men, feel that there's no one looking out for them, and even though there are certainly institutions and faith-based institutions that are. There's a sense amongst Black men that they have been ignored. So what I want to make sure we do is that we not only engage with men directly, but that we bring in organizations and institutions that are doing the work on the ground, and that includes faith-based organizations. I attend church, been attending a whole bunch of churches during the campaign as governor, but I want to bring churches back into the fold because I believe that a spiritual foundation is very important um, to to um, to one's success, to one's to our family structure as well. And I'm going to go back to the unity um, uh, analogy that was said earlier. It's about not necessarily pushing uniformity, but pushing unity and tackling this problem. And it's going to require all of us working together to solve it.
Thank you. Brother Ben Brooks.
Okay, Senator Esteves, this question is regarding property taxes. So regarding property taxes and HB 581 and the tax equity for all Georgians, but with an eye on communities of color and the elderly, and whether you sponsored HB 581, do you support reforms to prevent the dual tax system that exists now? And how would you protect seniors and communities of colors from escalating property taxes resulting from uneven implementation of HB 581?
Yeah, so I believe I did support HB 581 and making sure that that folks got some relief from property taxes because there were a lot of people being displaced because they couldn't pay for the property taxes. I also led a bill through the legislature that increased the tax exemption for seniors in the city of Atlanta off of their school taxes. And I did that in partnership with Atlanta Public Schools to make sure that our children were not significantly impacted by that reduction in taxes. So I'm someone that believes that home ownership is important and that we should not be displacing those legacy homeowners while our communities are developing economically. So I want to do everything that I can to make sure that people are able to afford the taxes that go along with it. So I will always support initiatives that reduce the taxes that people have to pay so that they can stay in their homes, while at the same time supporting the services that are needed. For example, school taxes. So yes, I did support HB 581, but in places where 581 was not implemented. For example, Atlanta Public Schools, I worked with the school system to make sure that we carved out some exemptions to reduce taxes for the people that needed it the most. And in this instance, it was seniors. I want to look at ways to ensure that lower income Georgians are able to feel relief when it comes to property taxes, because that problem is real throughout the state. We have too many people who are losing their homes to the auction block because they couldn't pay their property taxes. And I think that's wrong. And does everyone know what 581 was?
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure.
So the other excuse me, the other question on top of that was the exemption that was allowed to the counties, because that allowed counties to opt out of what voters had voted for to
Yeah.
limit property tax increases to the rate of inflation. And most counties and school districts opted out, which means that they can say, hey, the rate of inflation is 6%, but we're going to raise property taxes 20%, 18%. And it does not give them a cap in terms of what in terms of protecting homeowners. And that is the problem with the legislation, is that voters voted to cap it and legislators voted to uncap it by providing for the option. And it
Yeah.
does homeowners are still in the lurch because of this.
Yeah. So two things there. One is that I'm supportive of efforts to take a look at the implementation of 581 and to encourage school districts, counties, and cities to not exclude themselves from that legislation. And like I said, with Atlanta Public Schools, when I saw that they had exempted themselves, then I felt compelled to make sure that we provided seniors tax relief. So I agree with you, brother, on that. What I will say, though, in addition to that, is that the reason property taxes have continued to go up is because the state has not provided enough funding to our local governments. And as a result, the local governments are trying to get money from somewhere, which means our property taxes have gone up. And the state has done that so that the governor can say, we have $15 billion in a surplus. I want to make sure that we stop that practice so that local governments, like our schools, are getting the funding that they need so that they're not heavily relying on property taxes. Let me give you a quick example of that. When I started on the school board, school APS was funded 60% by the state of Georgia. 60% of APS's budget came from state funding.
Mm.
By the time I left, because of the cuts that happened after the Great Recession, state funding only accounted for less than 40% of APS's budget.
20% drop.
So where did APS have to get that money from? Local property taxes. What I want to make sure we do is that the state invests its fair share in education, healthcare, so that we can then tell cities and counties, hey, you have no excuse. No exemptions, no excuses, no exclusions. Reduce the property taxes because we're giving you the funding that you need. I will caution any candidate that says that they're going to eliminate the state income tax and eliminate property taxes is lying to you. Because at that point, where does the money come from? Where does the money come from? If you eliminate the state income tax and you eliminate property taxes, then they're going to abolish the healthcare and the education system. They're not going to fix roads because that's where these governments are getting money from. So the money has to come from somewhere. And my whole argument is the state should be investing more so that local governments can lower the property taxes.
Got it. We're going to have our final question, and then we give you an opportunity, Senator, to close out anything that you wanted to express to us. Brothers, I want to thank each and every one of you for your time and effort. Of course, you know it's being recorded, and then we blast it on various social media platforms, and you will have it also, Senator, in your camp before messaging. You can chop it up. We don't have a problem if something that you felt was very compelling and you want to use to get your message. We want to afford that opportunity. Brother Robert, can you come with your question, please?
Yes, thank you. Brother Senator, just to be a little facetious, they're going to get the money from tariffs.
I was thinking the same thing. Savannah, the port in Savannah, Georgia, will be very busy if we're gonna get
Yeah,
it from tariffs.
they gonna get it from somewhere.
Yeah.
No, but in all seriousness, as I've sat and heard you this evening, on behalf of all the brothers, we want to say thank you for your planning and your preparation, and most of all, your presentation to us, the way you answered the questions. We appreciate that you just come on like Jack Benny, but you did plan and prepare yourself. My question is a tall order, leading probably also a noble task, is dealing with the re-engaging disengaged Black men civically, because everybody is aware that there's a declining civic participation, and that signals systematic failure. So the question is, beyond elections, how would you and your administration re-engage Black men as active partners in governance, in the decision making, listen to this, and community leadership?
Well, there's a short term and then a long term answer.
All right, give it up.
The short term answer is that I want to make sure to highlight and to engage and partner with those civic organizations that engage Black men in civic society, in civil society, and I will do that as governor. I will elevate those organizations in my leadership to make sure that we are not only highlighting the work that those organizations are doing, but that we are helping to grow those organizations and the membership that they have in a community. So that's short term. But the longer term problem is what you said earlier. Uh, we're Black men are in crisis. We don't have enough civic engagement because um, Black men don't feel empowered. They don't feel like they are successful, and frankly, a lot of them are working 2 to 3 jobs. They don't have time for anything else, right? So long term, what I want to make sure we do is that we are moving forward and implementing our agenda as it relates to health, wealth, and opportunity. Because if you're healthy enough to build your own wealth and take advantage of the opportunities that you have, then you can engage more civically. And the fact is that with the income inequality that we have, with the lack of health care access that we have, with the lack of opportunities for our young people that we have, it has led to uh, a weakening of our society. And the only way to ultimately increase the membership of these organizations and increase the civic participation of Black men is by strengthening Black men in our community. And that's where we have to focus in on healthcare, on education, on economic empowerment and opportunity, so that we have Black men that are strong, that are making money and ready to engage in our society. And that's going to take many more years to address because it's been ignored for many years. But Brother Rob, know that that is something, or Pastor Rob, I should say. That is something that
Brother
is
Rob,
something
Brother Rob.
that is something that I don't want to just flippantly say, oh, I want to engage with those. I want to increase membership and tell and work on how to get Black men more engaged, because it's more than just that. There's a deeper problem here that has to be addressed in our community, where frankly black men just don't have the bandwidth for it, and we have to address those issues in our society to re-engage them civically.
I want to thank you for your profound answer. Senator, is there anything else that you want to say to the listening audience and those that will review this broadcast?
Yeah, look, I will say this: I'm not your typical politician. I will dive deep into the policy issues. I love debating and talking through a lot of these issues because I believe that I'm the only candidate in this race that has a lot of the lived experiences of the hardworking people in the state. I have, when I talk about healthcare, when I talk about mental health, when I talk about education, when I talk about economic empowerment, I don't need a policy memo. I don't need a poll to tell me what the issues are. I've seen it firsthand. So because of those lived experiences, I'm someone that when you ask me questions, I dive deep, and my team probably tells me I talk too much about it because I want to make sure that we understand that the old politics won't help us today.
Mm.
We need a new generation of leadership that will actually not just talk at a high level, but dig deep because they want to get something done. And I'm someone that wants to get stuff done. We have to deliver, and it takes having a new generation of leadership, someone like me that has the record of delivering at the state and local level and has a vision for the future of this state that gives people something to vote for, not just against. You didn't hear me talk and bash Trump this whole Zoom call because that's telling you what you should be voting against. I'm talking about what we should be voting for. And that's a future for this state where no matter where you live, you have the opportunity to thrive as long as you work hard. As long as you do what you need to do, you should have the opportunity to succeed in the state of Georgia. And we can make that a reality together. I appreciate y'all having me. I'm going to give you my phone number in the chat so that you have it. Feel free to text.
You can have the sister, she can forward to me,
Oh, okay.
and then I will give it to the brothers because
You locked down the chat too?
we shut it all down, brother. It ain't gonna be it ain't gonna be no disturbances. People coming on here that don't like you from other
Yeah,
camps
yeah,
and things in that nature. We know the game.
yeah,
You follow what I'm saying? We're seasoned. We know the game. So we just cut the enemy off altogether. We want
yeah,
to give you a fair opportunity to express your views as it relates to our concerns. We don't, you can't use fear tactic with us.
yeah,
We made a cast iron dipped in steel, nothing humbled of us but God and a host of angels. So you can't use no fear tactics. And that boogeyman theory that don't work on us no more. We focus on our agenda. We're focused on what's important to our communities, and we are men. We are fathers. We are husbands. We are uncles. We are grandfathers. We don't have time for the nonsense. So I thank you for staying issue orientated and not into the bashing of this or that, and really focusing on what we feel is so important. Brothers, I thank each and every one of y'all for coming on this evening. We will be talking later this week. We got another possible new development. And so I'm going to ask Brother Robert to please close us out in a holy prayer.
Amen. Let's bend our hearts to God, most holy, everlasting, and almighty God, who from the beginning said, "Let there be light." We thank you tonight for what our eyes have seen, our ears have heard, and our hearts have felt. Thank you for the spirit of unity, togetherness, harmony, and agreement. We pray as our brother senator goes forth that you lead him, guide him, direct him, but most of all, protect him. And for each of us, we thank you for the power and the presence of the Holy Spirit. And we ask that you keep us united with our leader, Emmanuel. Thank you for his vision. Thank you for his dedication. Thank you for his commitment Thank you for his sincerity and his transparency that keeps us walking by faith and not by sight. Bless us now as we go in peace. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, brothers. And may God bless each and every one of you. Enjoy. I don't know what's going on in that Eagles game, but I got to go and check out at least the final minutes, brother. I mean, I don't know how we got into this on Sunday night and the Eagles playing. So I hope I catch at least the last 5 minutes. Thank you, brothers, and may God bless each and every one of you. Have a great evening.
Oh, it's a close game right now. We got to go.
Oh, yeah, we got to go.
We got to go. We got to go.
All right, take care. Thank you so much, Senator. We'll be talking. Thank you so much.